Just when we thought Solar 3.0 couldn't get any better this season, our old friend the Warmind Cells decided it was time to step back into the ring. They've been sitting on the sidelines just waiting for that perfect moment to nuke something, and I know what you're thinking. Warmind Cells? Yes, you heard correct. Warmind Cells. At one point, these were the only mods that mattered, but they flew a little too close to the sun, and Bungie had to reel them in a bit. They've been forgotten about, but behind the scenes, they've been waiting patiently for Solar 3.0, and when paired with Caliban's hand, these little glowy balls of destruction are no joke. Hello all you beautiful weirdos, how's everyone doing today? I feel like it's been forever. I can't thank all of you enough for the kind words in my DMs and the comment section of these videos while I was sick. It truly put a smile on my face seeing all the love and support, which is odd because I'm like the Grinch of Destiny, but it worked. You guys made me a happy boy. Anyways, enough of me getting emotional. I have a special video for you today. I've always told you this is a community-driven channel, from the charities we support all the way up to working with you on videos. And today, we're doing it again. This video is a collaboration with Luckily, or some of you may know him as Brandon in the comments section. You know, the jerk who's always talking crap about hunters being the master race, blah blah blah. We work closely on this one to bring you explosions, and I mean lots of explosions. This build is all about having the freedom to play around with mods as we see fit, while not relying on artifacts so it can stick around long after the season ends. But more importantly, it's just flat out fun. So without wasting any of your time, let's get into this build. Caliban's Hand is one of the newer exotics that came out with Season of the Haunted and can be farmed from any lost sector on arm rotation. The exotic perk is called Roast 'em. Our proximity knife scorches targets it damages with its explosions, or ignites targets on final blows. After throwing a proximity knife, we gain increased melee regen until the knife explodes, but we're not worried about the melee regen because we want these knives to explode instantly. To get the most out of this exotic, we're going to pair it with Gambler's Dodge to fully refund our melee when dodging near enemies, the proximity knife because the exotic won't work without it, and whatever grenade you prefer. I like using the trip mine for the extra explosions, but this build will work just fine with the healing nade as well. But that's just the beginning. This whole build is focused around synergizing with itself and Caliban's Hand. For the aspects, we're using Knock 'em Down and Gunpowder Gamble. I know we're missing out on some fragment slots by using this combination, but I promise it'll all make sense in the end. Knock 'em Down causes our Blade Barrage to launch more projectiles, which is a good thing because we need the extra burst damage, especially when playing solo. But we're more interested in the secondary perk that refunds our melee when getting a final blow with it, while Radiant. This pairs perfectly with the fragment Ember of Torches to make us radiant when causing damage with our throwing knife, so they consistently feed each other. And Gunpowder Gamble creates an improvised solar explosive anytime we defeat targets with abilities, solar debuffs, or solar weapons. The key word to take away from this is creating a solar explosion. This improvised solar explosive can do some serious damage, and it's perfect for crowd control or igniting targets. But what's even better is that it can create elemental wells from Explosive Wellmaker, count as grenade kills when using ashes to assets, and create Warmind Cells from Wrath of Rasputin. But wait, there's more. The elemental wells and Warmind Cells can also drop from the ignition of Caliban's Hand and the proximity knife. So now we're dropping elemental wells and Warmind Cells everywhere from our melee, on top of the improvised explosive. Can you say fiery hot mess? Go ahead, try it. To further help our ignitions out and spread chaos like butt cheeks, we're going to use the last two fragment slots for Ember of Eruption to give our solar ignitions an increased area of effect, and Ember of Char to spread scorch to nearby targets affected by ignitions. These two fragments almost double the chaos from the solar ignitions, which means double the fun. But, I know, I keep saying but. What can I say? I like buts. If you don't want to use Ember of Char to spread Scorch, or maybe you have crappy stats like me and want more grenade energy, a good alternative would be Ember of Blistering to give us extra grenade energy when defeating targets with ignitions. Or we can swap out Ember of Eruption for Ember of Ashes. I've tested both fragment combinations out, and the build works great either way, so it just comes down to if you want more Scorch or ignitions. We're now at the part of the video where I encourage all of you to get creative with the mods. I mentioned Explosive Wellmaker and Wrath of Rasputin a couple of times. These two mods are the center of attention in this build, or the creators of all things to come. Explosive Wellmaker creates solar elemental wells from any explosion, and Wrath of Rasputin creates Warmind Cells from solar explosions. These two are a must-have in the build for it to work properly, but the rest of the mods are where we get to have a little fun and experiment. Believe it or not, I do pay attention to every single comment you leave on these videos, so I know a lot of you don't have every mod in the game, and that's what this build is focused around. Since we're dropping solar elemental wells, this gives us the freedom to use mods like Well of Life for the constant healing, Font of Might for the solar weapon damage buff, or Font of Wisdom for the amped up intellect to get faster supers. Plus, every well we pick up gives us a small chunk of ability energy to all abilities. Combining this with Bountiful Wells gives us much faster ability cooldowns because we're now dropping 2 wells instead of 1. And Wrath of Rasputin opens up the possibilities for some very niche builds. We have so many awesome Warmind Cells at our disposal that players have all but forgotten about. Mods like Rage of the Warmind to add an additional solar explosion to Warmind Cells, which can create more Warmind Cells and feed into the chaos. Global Reach to extend the range of Warmind damage. Fire Team Medic to give us and our team a burst of healing when destroying a Warmind Cell. Or one of my favorites, Cellular Suppression to suppress enemies. Pairing this subclass setup with Explosive Wellmaker and Wrath of Rasputin gives us so much freedom to have fun and not use the same meta loadout day in and day out. And don't worry, I will leave a diagram and a link for the exact build I used in this video, but I seriously encourage you to play around with these mods and have some fun. The last thing we need to talk about is the weapons and some minor mods that flow with this build. Because we will have Radiant active almost always, this opens up the possibilities for all kinds of weapon combos that we normally wouldn't use on a daily basis. One of my favorites is Ariana's Vow because it hits like a truck, especially while Radiant, doubles as an anti-barrier champion weapon, and feeds Gunpowder Gamble to get our improvised explosive faster. 2 more great weapons to try out with this build are the Parasite for the astronomical amounts of burst damage while Radiant. This comes in handy to take chunks out of champions, and any Seraph or Ikelos weapon to help create Warmind Cells. If you haven't used the Ikelos SMG while Radiant, I highly recommend giving it a shot. The gun kinda slaps, but then again I guess anything slaps while having a 25% damage buff. The 2 minor mods that fit perfectly with this build are Ashes to Assets on the helmet to gain bonus super energy on grenade kills, and like I mentioned earlier, the bomb we make counts towards this. And the other one is Bomber on the class item to reduce grenade cooldown when using our class ability. These 2 minor mods make such a big impact on getting our supers back faster while using this build. It's such a straightforward and easy setup that leaves so much room to grow. All we have to do is play the game. Our improvised explosives, grenades, Warmind Cells, and weapons do all the work for us to clear ads. If we're using Well of Life and Healing Aid, we have constant healing. And the best part is, this build will be around long after the season ends, because it requires no artifact mods other than champions. Do me a favor, try this build out and let me know what mod combination you used in the comments section. I'm curious to see what well mods and Warmind Cells you choose. I want to thank Luckily for helping me with this one and always talking crap in the comments section. Because of you, I will probably delete my Hunter and make another Titan just to spite you. Lucky has a YouTube channel of his own, but he's still finding his way in the whole video world. If you want to go check him out, I'll leave a link for that in the description. Also, I apologize for sounding winded in this video. I still don't have my full breathing capacity yet after being sick. But anyways, remember to be true to yourself, be good to one another, and have a fantastic day. Thank you!
I don't fucking take smoke, I'm a poker hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude, crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently, thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a